So here we go again. Our third conversation in six. At least that's the objective. We'll see if we make it.
We'll
and you will see.
Yeah,
it's open. And I remember the first talk we talked about awakening,
and
I believe the last talk we talked about empowerment. And now it's time to talk about alignment. Alignment, which is, well, there's loads to say about alignments. Alignment. What does alignment mean to you?
Well, at a personal level, it's being in alignment, being in integrity, being true to myself, and whatever my individual personal mission and characteristics are, and then beyond that, it's to be aligned with the source of all being, the pleroma, with the light of the universe, so that where I'm operating from is I suppose I'm struggling for words now, because I'm looking for a word that's different from the highest, because I want to get away from that kind of sense that there's a separation. Once you start talking about highest thing, you create a separation between the highest and the lowest, and then all that other stuff. And what I really want to be in alignment with is the evolution of the universe and the way life is supported, so that we're kind of evolving and growing and supporting all of us and the universe in that process. And it's a very big picture, which actually does include all the things that we call darkness, because they also serve in the process of us finding our alignment, because we explore the polarities to come back to that integrity of ourselves and the truth of all there is, and the truth that all there is really is love. And anything that's that's kind of operating as darkness is operating without love, and it's showing us that process.
And there's some things in this, and aligning to the evolution of the universe, and light and dark. Dark is can also be teachers, right? The dark side is teaching us how to be, how to reach our own mastership. So it includes all. And just to come back to higher and lower, we say the sun comes up, but in reality the world turns. So it's just a figure of speech.
Yeah.
And it's basically aligning to true source, right? And the divine expression of true source.
Yes.
Which is the evolution of the universe as we know it.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was on Facebook before we started this, and I saw one of my my previous students who posted something about she's feeling the light, and can she trust it? So it's like the light's wonderful, but is it going to stay, kind of thing. And I posted a little response to say that what we need to do, in a sense, is appreciate the light when we really feel it, because the more we appreciate it, the more it grows in us, and then we become the light. you know.
Yes.
So that's the alignment, and then because I'm a big Star Wars fan, and there was a movie, one of the Star Wars stories, Rogue One, which was like it was supposed to be the story before all the you know, the original Star Wars series. But there's a character in there who's like an original Jedi Knight. He's, you know, and he's blind, and I don't know if you've seen the movie, but he's blind and he can't see. But he has this mantra: "The Force is with me. I am one with the Force. The Force is with me. I am one with the Force. The Force is with me. I am one with the Force." And he walks through, you know, a battlefield, a hail of bullets, you know, and they all miss him because he's just chanting this mantra: "The Force is with me. I am one with the Force." And it's like, that's it. And so I kind of paraphrased that, and I said to you know, to my friend, "This is what you need to do, but change it. The light is with me. I am one with the light. The light is with me. I am one with the light." It's the same thing.
That's great. I love it. The light is with me. I'm one with the light. And it brings me to something. We had last week, we had a masterclass here by a reincarnation therapist, Martin Overseer, he's brilliant. He's amazing. I will introduce you to when you come to Holland. And we had a discussion about light workers and about serving the light and the darkness.
Yes.
And I explained light workership. So with the group, we had this group discussion, and I explained that light workership is not about going only towards the light and pushing away the darkness, and you know, and we talked about that already. Spiritual bypass. It's embracing both light and darkness, and we're not in that perspective. We're not serving the light. We're serving the light of original source, which is not which has nothing to do with the dualistic light. That's the opposite of darkness, right? This is the override of it. Is that good English? The override of it. And this was a profound insight for a lot of people. But it's important, you know, it's important to understand that we're aligning with true source, the creator. It's a different, it's also the way of expression. But then the risk of God slipping in comes, because that's also interesting. We're not aligning to God, not the you know, the God from the Abrahamic religions.
Yeah,
it's a different story. Many people don't understand that. They think the Bible refers to the same original source. It's not the fact.
No, well, as you know, we've both done some reading of the Nag Hammadi script, and you know, a little bit of research. You know, and I don't pretend to be a scholar, and I'm in it. But what is very clear is that the Jehovah or Yahweh of the Bible is not source.
No,
it's an imposter God. It's it's a consciousness, a being which has a different form of existence to us in this form, and has a lot of power. But that particular being is there because it went to battle with a load of other beings that were like the same as it. So it's like all it did was it's just the toughest one in the playground. It's just the it's just the biggest bully.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. He's like a wolf who convinced the mice he is God.
Yeah.
And then he ate up all the other animals.
Yeah.
And I'm the only God. I'm the only God. There's no other God. No, I'm the only one.
Oh yeah.
And he's so big, all these mice look up to him and say, "Oh wow, yeah, you must be God. You're so big, and you can eat
yeah,
us."
and you've beaten all the others. We want to be with you because we want to beat everybody else. And that's the paradigm of conflict and war that we've been locked into.
Yeah, and you can also see it countries that worship him. And to me, there's no difference between Yahweh, Allah, and the Jewish God. It's the same entity.
Yes.
In different packages. And you know, I always I live in Qatar country, and I'm not explaining this to you because we had loads of discussions and talks about this, but I'm explaining it to the people who watch this. I live in Qatar country, and you use the word pleroma, the original light of pleroma, and when you explained alignment at the beginning of our talk. And the pleroma, the Cathars were a Gnostic people.
Yes.
And Gnostic, meaning knowledge, existed before Christianity. So Jesus Jeshua was a Gnostic. And after the crucifixion, story goes, he and Mary Magdalena landed here in the south of France, close to where we live.
Saint-Marie de la Mar, I've been there.
Yeah.
And I've been in the crypt with the Black Madonna. I've been there. Yeah.
You've been there, yeah. Because there's a ceremony every year at the date where some gypsy people, I don't know exactly which people they are, but they pour in Sarah, the daughter of Jesus and Mary Magdalena, from the ocean onto the beach, right? Have you seen it?
I haven't been to the ceremony, but I've been to the place, and I've been into the crypt in the basement of the church where they have the relic of Maria Magdalena. I've been there.
Fantastic. Yeah, I haven't gone there. Well, they landed here, and then they took this original Christianity, which basically, as the story goes, Yahweh he basically took power in a big part of the world. And then Jeshua came from the original source to share with us, hey, this is not the way to go. There is another way.
Yes.
And then the Yahweh movement took him and crucified him and made his crucifixion their token, right? It's their totem. It's their the image they use, and basically. It's also a way of showing, look, we've beaten him, right? Instead of, look, he suffered for our sins. No, we've beaten him. Look, this is what happens when you fuck with us. We crucify you.
Yes.
And ever since, they've used that image of him hanging there and created this whole story around it. Now, when Jeshua came in, this is original Christianity. And so what they believed, what Gnostics believed, is there is an original source, the creator, which expresses himself in the Father, the Mother, and the Holy and the Son, and they express themselves in the pleroma, the light of pleroma, right, the original light. And in that light there's eons, and one of those eons was Eon Sophia, and she created a demiurge, a being which either was a mistake or she did it on purpose. There's different stories on that. Also, even in the Nag Hammadi scrolls, the Gnostic scrolls that were found after World War II.
Well, that's the biggest problem. There isn't any real consistency in any.
No, it's different stories. But the global idea is what we are talking about now. And so she created this being, and this being started to create a planet, and that planet is Earth. And he created life, but he created life without soul, because he has no soul. He has no divine spark inside of him. He has no connection to the true light. And then this was us, right, people. And we were inspired with a divine spark, probably by Eon Sophia, or by the original creator. The stories vary there as well. And but he created this earth and basically captured us in this, on this planet, in this in these bodies. And for Gnostics, it's the number one goal in life. So also for Jesus, this must have been the number one goal in life, is to lose attachment with the body, lose attachment with this planet and this world, and to become one with the original source again. But there's this demiurge in between us, and the demiurge is the same as what we now call Yahweh, right? And in the past was Anu, the chief of the Anunnaki, who played that same role. So it's the same figure coming back over and over again in the past 200,000 years. I think 200,000 years man was created. And so when we refer to alignment to original source, it's way beyond this entity that is called Yahweh or Anu or what are the names for him? Allah or
yeah, it's absolutely beyond that. That's right. That's that particular being, which everyone calls God, and you know, in our culture anyway, it's like a glass ceiling.
Yeah.
You know, that prevents us.
I like that.
Prevents us from going further, but we can. It's like the light projects through it, and we think that's where the light comes from, and it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. And it can be seen by the countries who serve him, like Israel, which is a country always in war. The United States, country always in war. Basically, it's he is the god of war, the god of suffering.
Most of Western Europe, including, you know, and especially the United Kingdom, but, you know, all of Western Europe is caught in it. You know, the Western civilization as such.
Yeah. And under his name, a lot of shit happened. I mean, he suppressed the original people in all over the world, starting here.
Yeah.
You know, the Celts and the Saxons, and he basically took all our nature beliefs, our original religions, and built churches on our holy places. Yeah. Then they went to the Americas, killed all the Aztecs and then the Incas, and then started to build churches there. And then they went up to North America, killing all the natives there.
The atrocities committed in the name of God, and in the name of the Latinized version, Jesus, which again, I don't like to use that name myself.
Yes, sure.
The atrocities are abominable. They are abominations. And of course, you know, we're taught all this stuff as the truth as kids. I became a free thinker at the age of 10. Maybe we'll tell that story at some point. Where I was going to go with it was, you know, my dad was, obviously he was older than me. And, and he fought in the Second World War. He was part of the Normandy invasion. He wasn't the first wave, but he was like about 3 days after the main push, you know, the main landings on the beaches.
Yeah.
But he said to me, he let go of all his religious ideas when he saw the priests blessing the guns. Saw the priest blessing the guns, and he thought, that's it, that's enough.
Yeah.
You know?
I can. They bless. They're constantly blessing war. I mean, look at the Crusades.
Yes.
Look at the, you know, all the wars that are fought in the name of the one God.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah, but
it's
and you see
mind
this,
blowing.
you know, I saw another, because you and I, we do Facebook because it's part of the way we network. And I saw something else on Facebook. I didn't respond to it myself, but you know, somebody had posted on there, you know, why is the West so Islamophobic? You know, why do they hate Islam so much? And then somebody else said, yeah, and they're anti-Semitic too. And that's because the Western nations are still fighting the Crusades. They are still fighting the Crusades.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the conflict between, you know, Christianity and Islam, and of course, there, and also the conflict between Christianity and Judaism, because, you know, so many, you know, and I've heard this so many times with fundamentalist Christians, you know, the Jews killed Jesus. Well, for fuck's sake, Jesus was a Jew, you know.
It's the same to the Americans kill John F. Kennedy.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And you know, if you place all those atrocities in a list, right? We have the Crusades. We have the burning of the witches, millions of them.
Well, that was another. That was another crusade. That was a crusade against natural wisdom and natural law.
Yes, yes, and the burning of the heretics. Everyone disagreed, which was also a crusade against agnostics, because most heretics were agnostic or Manichaean. Is it English? From money, Manichaean?
I don't know that.
You know, money.
I don't know that word, Robert. We'd have to resort to Google Translate. Manichaean. Yeah. Manichaeism, Manichaeism. That was
Manichaeism. Manichaeism.
Yeah.
And so the book burning, they burned most of our ancient book. I mean, the Library of Alexandria was the last big library, was burned by the Catholics, right? It was the bishop of Alexandria who moved in, who went in and burned the whole thing. I mean, it's amazing what they've done. And I mean, we're supposed to look at it from a point of wisdom and compassion, but it's mind-blowing. I mean, even the children, just a couple of years ago, the number 3 person of the Vatican, I think his name is George Bell or George Well, number 3, the treasurer, he was convicted to 6 years in jail because he put his dick into a child. I mean, this is, and it's going on, you know, and all the stories that we know about sexual abuse by priests, by bishops, by cardinals, and it just keeps going on. And still people believe this to be the God of love.
Yeah, well, that's, you know, that's what I came to see that at the age of 10, in my own personal way.
Yeah.
You know, but what has become clear to me over the years is that there is a war going on continually. But it's not a war that you see in the world. What we see is we see the surface of it. You know, we see the symptoms of it. But there's an energetic war going on, multidimensionally, underneath our, you know, what we experience as our physical reality. And it's, you know, it's that conflict that we see playing out time and time and time again. You know, one of the ways I look at it is, you know, for thousands of years, you check in with humanity and they hate going to war. Nobody wants to go to war. but they keep doing it. You know, and people say, well, why haven't we learned? And that's because the minds are manipulated. The minds are manipulated, and in the polarity consciousness, which sees somebody as an enemy, you know, sees somebody as dangerous. And then if you consider that again, what you're being implanted with through that mental control, which is operating subliminally under the surface, you're being implanted with fear. You are fearing for your existence. And that's what's driving all the conflict. You know, it's like a huge machine, and it keeps repeating itself. And it's that consciousness that we are looking to evolve beyond.
Yes. Yeah, because the energy that keeps mankind in that consciousness of fear, we refer to it as the archon energy, which is also a Gnostic word. In Buddhism, it's Maya, right? The seven veils of Maya. But it's those archon energy. It basically feeds on the fear, and it feeds on the suffering of people, and that's why they find it so important to keep us there. And the head archon in the Gnostic, in the Nag Hammadi scripts, it is Yahweh, right? It is Yahweh, or Anu in the Sumerian clay tablets. It is the same person. So he's basically in charge of that whole energy sphere in the fourth dimension that tries to keep us from moving on from the third to the fifth dimension. And so it's constantly making sure there's war, there's suffering, there's fugitives, there's a meat industry which it's you know, it's pumping so much pain and suffering into the matrix. There is child abuse. It's a reason it's in the Catholic Church, because it's the most optimal way of you know, the most pure pain and suffering comes from a child that is having a panic attack, or is being abused, or is in pain. And that's why they do that, you know, to feed their unseen masters.
There are many layers to this, and lots of things that people would not believe, because we've all been taught in the goodness of you know, of our own culture. You know, there's a couple of things I wanted to just reflect on what you said. You know, one is that this kind of level of invisible, multidimensional, you know, hyperdimensional beings that are, you know, we can't see, but just because we can't see them doesn't mean they're not there. You know, lots of the ancient cultures knew about it. They've just been kind of taken out of our reality by our modern scientific jargon, which says all that stuff is superstition and nonsense. But that doesn't stop them being there. That just means we don't pay attention to them. So they have a field day, you know. But if they are beings, and they are kind of life forms, whether they are artificial life forms or, you know, whatever they are, they require food. Okay. Now, they require metaphysical food. They require energetic food, just like we require biological food, because our bodies are biological. Okay. And what we are is, we are their meat industry. We are their, yeah, we are the meat, as above, so below. We are the meat industry. We are their food source. But it's not our physical bodies that are the food source. It's our emotional energy, and particularly terror, fear, and what we call the negative stressors, you know. And war is a major event of human sacrifice, and it creates masses and masses amounts of terror to feed those multidimensional invisible beings. You know, one of the terms for that is loosh. I don't know if you know that term. In English, it gets used, it's spelled L-O-O-S-H. You know, if you were Dutch, you would say that losh. But, you know, I'm losh, yeah. Losh, yeah. But in English, we would say loosh.
Yeah.
And that's the energy. It's basically, that's all that negative energy, which is the yummy stuff that they lap up. And so, you know, when you look at how the mental fields are manipulated, it's producing that all the time.
Yeah. Well, look at concentration camps. Look at the fugitives now on the Greek islands. You know, it's all expressions of the same.
Yes.
Look at the suppression of the First Nations in the U.S. It's there's so much trauma and those boarding schools where the native children were abused, and there's so much trauma being created on purpose.
Yes.
To feed them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's also good news, because you know, when we share this, I find this very difficult to share on social media, for example, because people when we refer to archons or dark energy or them, the polarity immediately exists, right? There's them and there's us.
Yeah.
And the good news is we don't have to fight them, or
That's right.
we don't have to even we don't want to fight them, because fighting, fearing, being angry at them only feeds them more.
Yeah.
So basically, all we need to do, right?
Yeah, that's how it's self-sustained. Yeah.
Yeah, all we need to do is make sure we achieve frequency beyond theirs.
Yes.
Right? And they're in the fourth dimension. Most humans are in the third dimension since the fall of Atlantis 13,000 years ago. And we're on our way back to the fifth. And once we reach the fifth, the collective consciousness of mankind reaches the fifth dimension, we basically have left them behind, because they can't touch us anymore. We're out of their reach.
Exactly.
And there are people on this planet who actually live in that fifth dimension, and they are out of their reach already.
Yes. Right? Yeah. That's right.
You call it too hard to handle.
Too hard to handle. That's right. And that's the process that we're involved in. You know, that's in a sense, you know, that's our joint mission. We're doing it in our own different ways, and we're doing it together. And with others, you know, but that's what we have to do. We have to. That's why, you know, it's the light is with me. I am one with the light. The light is with me. I am one with the light. You know, you just become so bright that you cannot be approached by any of that stuff. You know.
Why not say source is with me? I am one with source.
Yeah, you can do that. Cool. Of course you can. You
sounds like
anything of that meaning to you, you can do. Yeah. You know, the source is with me. I'm one with the source. It's, you know, it's like, you know, the force is with me. I'm one with the force. That's, you know, that's the power of popular culture, and where those kind of movies are drip feeding that level of consciousness into the mass mind.
Yes. Yes. Same as the movie The Matrix.
Yeah.
And many others, because it's basically it's you know, understanding how these archon systems work You know, understanding the Roman Empire was a vehicle for them. Also
Mhm.
understanding that the Roman Empire, when they stopped their worldly power, they became the Roman Church. And the
Yeah.
Roman Church is organized exactly the same way. One person at the top, the emperor, the cardinals, the bishop, the archbishops, the
Yeah.
bishops, the priests, and so on and so on. It's an army. It's an army force, and it's brilliant the way it's all, you know, the way they designed it and executed it. It's brilliant. And then the Nazis, which is also an expression of the archons, they were organized exactly as the Romans too. You know, with their banners and their
Mhm.
the way their armies were, and the greeting to Hitler. I mean, Ave is the
Mhm.
same as Heil. It's the same greeting, and I have to be careful doing that. But it's the same thing. And one emperor, their Führer. You know, it's over and over. It's the way this Archon system feeds on us, reaps us. And the only thing we have to do to overcome war and suffering and the meat industry and child abuse and fugitive problems, the only thing we have to do is make sure, each of us individually, to make sure our own vibration is at a level where they cannot touch us. We become too hard to handle. It is the answer to all the suffering on this planet. And the Buddha knew this, and
Yeah.
Yeshua knew this. The
Yeah.
Gnostics knew this, because this is what they are all teaching.
Yes.
And Mani knew this, and there's a whole bunch of teachers who knew this and are teaching us how
Yes.
to do that.
Yeah. That's exactly it. And, you know, and what I can see from where I am is, you know, you can then actually be in a place of compassion for all that stuff that's going on, all that conflict, all that war. You can be in a place of compassion for it, but you can't until you've cleared sufficient of your own inner conflict, because it's in all of us, to, you know, to allow, you know, more of the source energy, more of the light to anchor into your physical body. And this is exactly, you know, I call my one-day workshops, as you know, grounding your soul's energy. And that's what you're doing. You're grounding your soul's energy into your physical body, because your physical body is the ground. You know, I talk about this in my online program. And I was doing it last week, because I was talking about grounding. And everyone thinks grounding is going and walking on the grass in your bare feet. That's a great thing to do. And as you know, and I know you do too, walk around barefoot all the time, okay?
Yeah.
Because it's great. But, yeah, and me.
Hi, food.
Yeah. And that's a great thing to do. But if you just stretched out a little bit further, what is the human body comprised of? It's comprised of the earth. So the human body is the earth. So when you bring in your soul's energy, you bring in the light of source, you are grounding that energy. You are the instrument for grounding. You know, you're part of the circuit, the energy circuit. And that's what we're here to do.
Yeah. And we can say we won't fight you, we won't fear you.
Yeah.
The only thing we do is we make sure you don't feed on me anymore.
Yeah. Well, what we do, we don't even have to do that. All we have to do is clear all that conflict stuff out of us. So this is another thing, you know, every time we get triggered, I know you don't get triggered much, Robert, but you know,
never.
No, me neither, you know.
I'm way too enlightened to be triggered.
But every time we get triggered, every time we get some kind of reaction come up in us, all that's not a problem. All it is a signpost to something that needs clearing. That's all.
Yeah.
It's information. Yeah. That's all it is.
Yeah. I like to say your anger and your fear are basically telling you where your border is, where you
Yeah.
are, and they're telling you where you need to develop instead of walking away from that. Go
Yes.
towards them. In the cave you fear most, Joseph Campbell said, lies the treasure you seek. This is what he was talking about. Yeah, and the good thing also is, you know, there's a lot of trauma from the past, from the wars and from suppression, and there's still trauma created, but it's less and less, and more people are living in peace.
Mm-hmm.
And the good thing is we can also clear the trauma nowadays.
Yes.
And this is something you and I do right a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and in our workshops and our trainings, and we train teachers, and we do this because we actually can transform the trauma with the methods that we have today. The past 100 years, all these methods submerged because the frequency of mankind was going up, and the frequency of Mother Earth. And now we have ways to clear trauma, because trauma, I like to put it as the sandbags that hold the balloon that wants to rise into the fifth dimension. And I know it's an up and down, you know, it's a dual picture, but it helps people to get the understanding. All right, so if I transform my sandbags, I will go up into that fifth dimension. And I talked about Martin Overseer, who was here, the regression of the reincarnation therapist. What he does, he actually goes to North America, to the Iroquois nation. They are very, very traumatized people. You know, they've been, there's a genocide by the US on them for about 500 years now. And they've been traumatized in boarding schools. Their family was killed, and so on.
Yeah,
and so on.
it's a good Christian practice.
Good Christian practice, yeah, exactly. And still a lot of shit going on. But he actually goes there and he trains locals to become reincarnation therapists to clear the trauma with their own people. And I love that, because that's the second step for me. First step is we become too hard to handle, but then we help others to clear their trauma so they can become too hard to handle as well. And it goes, Jiddu Krishnamurti said, the only hope for mankind is the transformation of the individual.
Yes.
And I believe this to be true. And that's what we all do. We help individuals transform their trauma from past lives, from other dimensions, from childhood in this life, from their fathers, from their mothers, from entities in their system. Help them clear their trauma. And you, of course, you're a master in this work, and I'm your student in this work, and you teach me. I've learned so much from you when it comes to this and other stuff too, but mainly when it comes to this. And no, I'm kidding. But it's so important, and I wish everyone, you know, to start working on their shit. You know, facing their dark side and clearing their trauma and become lighter.
Yeah. Of course, I want that too. But what I've also learned from experience is I can't push that. You know, I can't push people to do it. They have to come to it when they're ready. And it's like, that's, you know, that's kind of to rewind back to, you know, 2 sessions to the awakening. You know, it's as people awaken, that's when they're ready to transform their trauma, because they're starting to see that who they are inside is completely in conflict with the reality that's offered to them in their mainstream culture. And they can't fit in anymore. They can't fit into the box. You know, the box is too restrictive. And so that's when the transformation process starts. But you can't make people start before they get that kind of internal push themselves.
Agree.
And the other thing,
but more at the same time, because of the awakening, more and more people are
and they are very confused, because so much of what we're talking about spirituality in a very kind of broad sense, not not religious sense at all, but in a very broad sense, because all of that has been drained out of our culture. They have nowhere to turn but to conventional medicine, which will give them drugs to suppress what's going on and to help them fit into the box and keep them stuck. So again, that
more and more people are not taking that anymore.
Yeah, and that perpetuates the system. And there's one other thing that I want to just bring out, because this is so important. So often, I know you've seen this too. People come into our workshops, or they come into our programs, or other people's workshops too. It's not it's not like we're the only ones. There's lots of people doing really good stuff, and I'm really great. I like to connect with anybody that's doing this now these days, because it doesn't matter whether they're doing the same as me or something completely different. They're on the same team, and we create that network where we're all supporting each other. So, but anyway, I digress. What people do is they come into these workshops and they say, "Oh, I've got this, that, and the other, and I want to get rid of it." And in fact, you don't want to get rid of it, because it's your energy that's stuck. All you want to do is reclaim it and reconfigure it so that it supports you to hold your light, rather than it's kind of stuck in some old story where you are hooked into the old patterns of behavior. So you want to clear the sense of the story and the trauma and the pattern and reclaim that energy, because it is yours. And then it supports you in becoming the light, becoming too hot to handle.
Yes, agree. And luckily, more and more people, I like the taking it back to a macro point of view. The Mayas, who basically make the prediction that they have these time circles of 26,000 years.
Yeah, so keen. So keen. Yes.
Yeah, and they basically say in 2012, the Earth spins.
Yes.
The axis of the Earth also makes this movement.
Yeah.
In 2012, the axis is the furthest away from the heart of the universe. That's what they said. And 13,000 years ago, it was closest, which was basically the era of Atlantis, the last part of that. So this is the movement that we are making, and we're now on the we can't go any further. So we're
on the return. Yeah.
Yeah, we're on the return. We'll take another 13,000 years before we get here, and then we will go this way again. But for now, this is what's happening. And all these people awaken because of this movement. There's different ways of explaining this in different cultures, but it all comes down to the same thing. I'm making a film about this, right? Fork in the Road, where I explore together with Alex Koning, the cameraman, where I explore the different viewpoints on this movement, the Yugas, the Kabbalistic viewpoints, Aquarius, fishes, Aquarius, etc. And this is why all these people are so they are all waking up. And I saw this 10 years ago when this all started. And I figured, all these people waking up now, that was my vision, we need to build something, a big board, so they can find us, like, you imagine you wake up in your business and your family, and you're like, oh my God, I see things completely different than you do. And no, I don't want to gossip with you. No, I don't believe this is true anymore. I don't, you start to see the reality as it, wait, I have a little boy here.
I thought it was a wild animal, but it's a little boy.
Ja. Geen chocola eten, lieverd. Okay. Basically, I saw that and I figured, okay, all these people waking up, we need some kind of a big sign somewhere in neon with an arrow pointing here, 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 here. So when you wake up, you look around and say, oh, where do I go? And there's this big light and say, woke, awake, here. And that's why we started to create Bridgman. Bridgman basically is this big neon thing in the sky, and where people can go, no matter, that's why we work in businesses, that's why we work with workshops and retreats, and with you and other teachers and me, and that's what's going on. People are awakening, and now we have an infrastructure to help them to do their work, which is not spiritual bypassing, going into the light as fast as you can, but actually going through the darkness inside, clearing sandbags so the moon can fly off.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. Yeah,
that's what we're doing. Yeah, that's what we're doing. And that's also when it comes to alignment, which is our talk. We go back to the micro level again. Basically, I think the main teaching is to align yourself. There's so much in between you and the original source: beliefs, trauma, pain, and even entities and other consciousness forms that want to keep you from aligning yourself. And the way to align is by transforming all that stuff until you become that open channel again, and the aligning happens because it's already there. It's not, you don't have to get somewhere. You're already aligned. There's just a lot of stuff in between.
That's right. We are already aligned, and this is it's very important to know this. Okay, we are already empowered, and I this is again part of my teaching. What we have here is, so often it's called free will. Okay, but what that means is we can say no. We can do things our own way. We can try to find our own way, make sense of the world, and do it our way. Okay, for as long as we choose. And very often that's very painful, and it takes a lot of effort. But we're tough. We can do it. Or we can say, divine intelligence, spirit, however you want to call this, universe, give us a hand here. Why don't we do it together? And that's the point where there is a change, because we come into partnership with source instead of, this is our own empowerment. If you think about it, we're teaching empowerment, and empowerment in that process is like aligning with source and holding the light and being the light. But we are already empowered to say, fuck you, I'm going to do it my way. We're already empowered. Yeah,
that's fantastic news, isn't it?
Yeah, we are already empowered. All we have to do is get out of the way.
Yeah. In Buddhism, they have the three poisons, which is anger, greed, and ignorance. And they say if you resolve those three poisons, basically you are enlightened already. These three are in between. In Tibetan Buddhism, they have 5. And it's what's in between you and enlightenment, but you already are your Buddha nature. You already are enlightened.
Yeah.
And that is what it is. That's also the divine spark from the gnosis. It's already in. And we are source.
Yes.
We are source. Yes. And all we have to do to reconnect is understand that, and take away the illusion inside of us that makes us believe we are a separated individual. We're not.
Yeah, that's right. We are already empowered. We are already aligned. We just have to get rid of the noise. It's the noise of this and all the other stuff that we're told to believe, and you know.
You know what we should do? We should write a book about this.
Oh.
Yeah, well, it comes to mind suddenly. We should write a book about all of this. You know, there's a lot of books you can read. For example, David Icke, who is able to, you know, well, you know him.
Yeah, I know him. Yes.
Who is able to really sketch, to line out all this movement with archons and the whole thing that's happening. You have Anton Parks, who translated the Sumerian tablets with about the Anunnaki, who did the same. You have books of Peter Tonen in Dutch, 13,000 years captured in a pyramid. Tijn Tauber written the book Time Bender. There's a Sachkin, what's his name?
Sechin, yes, Zechariah Sechin.
Zechariah Sechin. There's so much written about it, but there's no book that actually tells you how. It tells you what's going on, but it doesn't tell you how to increase your vibration in order to become too hard to handle. There's none. So maybe you and I, because that's what we do. We help people to actually do that and actually come through that, to work through that darkness, that food, you know, to actually get rid of the archon food. We should write about it. Just contemplate on it.
Let's let that settle. I've got plenty to do at the moment, Robert. How about you?
Well, wait till after you've moved. I know, and I did not say we should write about this starting tomorrow.
Okay.
In a year is also good.
Yeah.
In a year. So let's say if people agree and they watch this video and they want us to write a book about it, they put it in comments. So
okay, put it in comments. Yeah. You know, because I had a discussion with Hans recently. You know, the CEO of Bridgman, and you know, the plans that you have for keeping me busy is like you're going to need two of me.
Yeah, we're working on cloning you. Well, you will be busy because you're moving to Holland, which is great news.
Mm-hmm.
And right now we're doing one teacher training a year with you and a couple of workshops. And we're planning to do more.
We're planning to do more, yeah.
Your training is always full way before they start. So there's a huge demand for them, which makes sense because there's not many people I know who operate at your level. It's as simple as that. And in Holland, I mean, we Dutch are so awake. They are waking up so fast and in such great numbers. It's amazing. Holland is such a special country, don't you?
Netherlands is a special place, and it's a cradle for awakening in northwestern Europe. You know, it very, very much is. You know, like 20 years ago, it wasn't much different to the surroundings, but over the last 20 years, it's really woken up. You know, it's like it's going everywhere. You know, I know. We just talked a little bit about one of the other prongs, one of the other threads of Bridgman. You know, the human potential development, and
our business company.
And you know, I was talking to Roy about it recently, and he said he did a presentation at some company, and he pitched it at one level, and you know, at the break at the end of the session, they said to him, you know, what about all the other stuff, all the good stuff, you know, because you know he didn't get too much into the bigger metaphysical picture like we're talking about. He kept it in a fairly
at a surface level.
Yeah,
mindfulness, brain training.
and they said, well, all that's good, but what about the good stuff? You know.
Yeah, Holland is ready for it. Human potentials. Just to explain to viewers, is the branch of our organization that works within companies, for governments, for large corporates, and we believe it's our Trojan horse. We bring love and light into companies. Most of them are controlled by archon energies, and we bring the high frequency in, and we've packed it in mindfulness, meditation training, brain training, emotional intelligence training, and so on. It's very high level human evolution work that we do. And what we see is these companies, these corporates, they are more and more open and open and open. And things 7 years ago when we started it, we had to be really careful. And now we can do transformational breathing sessions within organizations. We're gonna launch you into organizations. It's open because organizations are people. It's not an entity.
Yes.
It's a whole bunch of people, and if these people waken up from the inside out, the organization will have to change at one point.
Yes.
So the leadership will be, depends on the leadership. Some awaken top down, some awaken bottom up, but they are awakening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have an anecdote about that. We were at a company here in Holland, and there was a manager who's brought us in, and he said, okay, we have a talk. You have a talk with HR, and that manager did my training, and he said, but you have to be careful with the spiritual wording, because they're not there yet.
Yes.
And so I went in together with Hans. You just spoke of him. And I went into that organization, and we were sitting at the table, and we talked to those HR women, wonderful ladies. One of them just finished a yoga retreat on Bali, and the other one was in her 3rd year of a shamanic healing training. So they were very awake, and we had a beautiful talk. And they said, yes, this is what we want to do. Wow, we're going to launch this in the organization, but be careful with our managers, because they're not there yet. So people don't know it from each other, and they're scared of other people's opinions. But in reality, when I do talks with large audience in corporates, and I say, okay, who meditates here? Half or 3/4 of the room raises their hands, and they're looking to the others like, you too, and you, and you.
Yes.
They don't talk about it.
Well, and that again, that brings us back to one of the major traumas that I see. Some of it's the witch wound, but where people are carrying trauma from being burned as witches or hanged or whatever, and then and from being labelled as heretics from the Reformation. But it's more than that. It's light worker trauma, where we have been on the losing side in the battle. And we've kind of decided that we mustn't let anybody know what we're doing, who we are, because it's not safe. Not just not safe for us, it's not safe for them, because they get targeted. Our followers, our families, our friends, they're the ones that get taken away, put against a wall and shot. And they say to us, if you don't stop doing that stuff, we're going to kill your family. This is the origin of the Jedi, the warrior monk, being completely free from relationships. It's the Spider-Man. The Spider-Man superhero doesn't have a relationship because they target the people you love.
Maybe that's why Buddhist monks don't have relationships too. Who knows?
It's then you cannot be coerced, you cannot be manipulated through that. And the people that you are helping, who choose, they are kept safe as well. So it's like, you know, what you said, you know, who meditates, and it's like, oh yeah, and they go, oh, you too. It's like, fancy that,
That's what
you know.
happens.
It's because we've learned to keep that secret, you know, even at this, you know, even at
And it
this
makes
everyday
sense.
level, you know.
It makes sense. I mean, in our work, we meet a lot of light workers who have traumas, both of us in our own, we have our own separate circles. And we're doing retreats together as well since last year. But we meet people who have been burned as witches, who have been prophets, who with their heads cut off, who were able to heal people and were punished for it in the most severe ways thinkable. And this happened until now, actually. It's still going on in some parts of the world. But in Western Europe, this happened, maybe it stopped like 50 years ago, 17 years ago. You know, there was still, I mean, the witch burning, it happened to the 1800s. It's very, very recent.
I can tell you, in the UK, the witch laws, the witchcraft laws, outlawing witches, was only repealed in 1951.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. It's very recent, very recent. But the good thing is, they don't burn us anymore. I mean, I'm living in Cathar country. People, these Cathars, we visit all these holy sites here and their villages and castles. They were burned 200-300 people at the same time. You know, these were mass burnings by the Catholic Church.
There was the that complete. They shut the complete town, Béziers, didn't they? And
That's
they burned it to the ground. All people in it, you know. And
well, there's different stories. The most I've studied that story, and there's several versions of it. And what happened is, as I see it, the Crusaders came in the 12th century. They wanted money because they were all bounty hunters. Knights from the north wanted to break the south, and the Pope, Innocentius III, he was behind all this. The French king wasn't in yet. He came in 10 years later because this crusade lasted 30 years. Can you imagine? And this army of mercenaries and bounty hunters, they basically arrived in the region at Béziers. And then they started to siege Béziers. And the Béziers people, they came out of their castle. They were very fortified. They came out to do a counterattack. And they were a bit bit too sure of themselves. So they came out, but the army, the other side, was too strong, and they were followed in, and this is how they got in. And then they started this huge slaughtering, and one of the commanders of the army ran up to the bishop in charge, and he said, "Okay, Bishop, Holy Father, how do we make sure we don't kill both Catholics and heretics?"
I was going to say this myself.
Father Arnaud, he said, "Just kill them all, God will know his children," you know? And they started slaughtering, and they slaughtered 6,000 children, women, men in one night. And this was just the beginning. They burned the town, and then they came into this area. And you know, this was the way for the Pope to show how a good and merciful God Yahweh actually is. You know, by burning and raping and killing and mass executing people. It's, you know. And you know what? There's a gentleman, Marcel Messing. He's well known within certain circles in Holland. This is a very wise man. He lives in the Pyrenees somewhere here. He's written a lot about this, a lot of books about all of this. He's lived in Cathar countries. He studied it. And in the 1970s, he was going to be on Dutch national radio with this story. And then the Bishop of Utrecht called the radio, the broadcast institution, whatever. He called them and said he did not want it to be broadcasted, this story. So we're calling the 1970s here, where this was still sent. Most people don't know. Most people don't know what happened here.
No.
Most people in Europe don't. People here even don't know what happened here. They started to use the name Cathar because it attracts tourists after the book about the Holy Grail and the Da Vinci Code. you know, and now there's in every town there's a restaurant called the Le Bon Qatar or something like that, you know. But it's a tourist thing for them. It's not a, and they're all the descendants of the ones who survived and of the Crusaders also. So, but that's what it is. It's been recent, but now we don't get burned anymore. Our heads don't get chopped off anymore. They don't kill our families. They can try to manipulate us in the energy, but if we work on ourselves and we keep our own frequency at a high enough level, and the frequencies of our children's too, we don't have to worry at all.
No, that's right.
Right.
That's right. And that's all because it's partly because, you know, the wobble of the Earth's axis is coming back into alignment with the heart of the universe.
So why are we doing all this, Balthasar? Why don't we just, you know, sit back and wait for this wobble to go up, back? Why are we so in? I mean, this is like 2 full-time jobs. We both have 2 full-time jobs, and one working our asses off to publish books, have our courses, trainings, internet, social media, teachings. Why are we doing all this? Why not just go with the flow and wait until it's destined to happen anyway? It might take a couple of 100 years, but it's destined to happen, and it will take 13,000 more. So why are we so busy with this?
Well, that's a good question. You know, I just have to come back to myself and, you know, to why I am where I am. And that's because I didn't like where I was. You know, it's kind of, I didn't like where I was. I decided I was going to change. And once I decided I was going to change, I wanted, you know, I just knew that I've been operating in the world in a, you know, in a way that just wasn't in integrity. It just wasn't, you know, I didn't like the person I was. And I wanted to like myself. You know, I wanted to be of value to both to myself and to the world. And I wanted to, and I suppose this is really key, I wanted to know love, truly. And I had to make a lot of mistakes to get there. But I do understand a lot more about love than I used to. And so it's been, you know, that journey for me has been a way of life. It's been a purpose. It's been, for the most part, it's been fun. And it's been where, you know, it's taken me from not wanting to live, literally not wanting to live, to actually enjoying life, enjoying being here, you know, being in alignment with my own soul, with my own purpose, with my own energy. So that's why I'm doing what I do. I'm doing it for me, primarily, okay? But what's also going on is, you know, 1 or 2 people that I interact with say, oh, I like this. Can I do it too? And I said, well, of course, you know, we can see where that goes. And then I get the double pleasure of seeing somebody else come in alignment, seeing them come alive, seeing them switch on, seeing them move beyond what they thought they were. Yeah. So that's why I do it. And there's personal satisfaction and fulfillment in it. But it started with me. That's why, because I didn't like what I was, and I didn't like who I was.
Yes, that's very sincere to share that in this way, and I think people might also think, that's kind of selfish for a light worker, because we're all in that mode of you have to do it for the greater good. And we've talked about this before. You are going through yourself into the greater good, and my approach is more into the greater good to myself. And of course, I'm doing this for me too. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel I have a purpose. It makes me feel I'm seen and appreciated. It makes me feel I have a significance. This life has a significance. So that's, but the initial reason to start all this was because I saw Earth, so much trouble on Earth and so much suffering, people suffering, deforestation, pollution, all of that. And that was, I remember, that's my initial motivation. It was so painful. Clearing that pain was my initial motivation. And now that I have, it's become love for the earth, love for people. That is motivating me. But the awakening of mankind, one of the reasons for me to go fast is because I believe, it's fun when we are all enlightened in 100 years. And I have 3 boys, as you know, and it's great when they're all enlightened, but what if they are enlightened on a polluted air without any forest or animals living on it? But in reality, I believe, when it comes back to alignment, these are our personal agendas, which can be true or not. It's interpretation that we have about ourselves and our motivation. But what happens is, once you align yourself to source, you become a vessel of source. You become a channel. You become the hands and feet of source. And I believe that's what's going on. And no matter what the story is, that's why so many people are awaking. That's why so many light workers are incarnating right now, because it's nature. When there's too many mice in the field, there will be more buzzards and more eagles will incarnate in order to feed on those mice. And and it's a matter of balance. So when there's too much darkness in the world, there will be more light.
Yeah, but
this is our talk about alignment. I think we've talked enough for this one.
Yeah,
we can continue for hours.
We can. I just want to pick you up on one thing. Well, I know, maybe I'm going to blow the whistle here, but I know that you lived a life that you didn't care for, just like I did. And before you actually decided you didn't like that very much and you had to change. And I think that is the key for so many people, certainly that come to my workshops. They can't tolerate the pain of living the life the way they live. And they have to change.
Yeah.
And that's,
I agree.
That was me.
I agree. It's only karma. There's a light worker, 200,000 years ago when mankind was engineered, light workers were involved in that. And there's a karmic trauma that we all carry. And if you read the books of Pamela Cribber, who channels Jeshua, and she said, this is what happened 200,000 years ago. Light workers were in the process of, chaining human species, and that trauma is still in us, and we are here to balance that karma. And on a more micro level, all of us had lives where we were the bad guy, where we were, in the Archon's realm, where we killed people, and that's also balance. And that's one of the reasons you and I are doing this work, to balance that karma.
It's much bigger than we can grasp, but that's fine.
Yes.
Okay.
I wonder what in 10 years what we will think about this talk and what we say. I think it will be fun.
Well, let's hope it gets lost, because we'll have moved on a lot.
We can take care of that. All right, thank you.
All right, see you. Yeah.
And may the source be with you.
May the source be with you. Yeah.